Hey everybody, this is just a reaction video to Sabine Hossenfelder's video. First of all, thank you, Sabine, for covering the story. You did it really well. What you said is absolutely 100% accurate, but you're totally missing the point. There are three parts to the story. Its initial discovery, which is fascinating, its dismissal as rubbish, which you covered, and the new data, which you didn't cover. What actually overarches the entire story is how good EU science is, and I think Sabine should have recognized that. And by cherry picking just one aspect of, in fact, American science, she's ignoring how Europeans are actually on the cusp of proving that there might be a technological alien signature. So here are the three parts of the story that Sabine only talked about number two. Number one is amazing. There was a sea change in Seti, USA, where they wanted to scan the entire night sky and look for a technological signature, but they didn't have the data processing to do it back in the early 2000s. So they came up with the audacious and brilliant plan of Seti at Home, which was a PC screensaver where you and I would sample tiny bits of radio telescope data looking for any evidence that wasn't natural, something that stood out from the background buzz of the universe. But they were a victim of their own success. Literally millions of people, you and I, all downloaded Seti at Home and analysed tiny bits of radio telescope data. Because Seti at Home had so many people looking at tiny bits of data and they didn't want to disappoint them, they repeated the surveys and sent new people new surveys of the same night sky. That's really important. So signals from space were analysed multiple times by many people all over the world. But what did Seti at Home announce at the end of They didn't. The whole program was open source. And here's the first bit of EU intervention. A brilliant Italian mathematician with a novel way of looking at statistical data analyzed the multiple surveys by multiple people and found a number of candidates. And that's very much his term, and the word candidates goes through this story. These candidates were found by a mathematician, not a radio astronomer. He discovered that there were a number of statistically important candidates. End of his research. Enter Breakthrough Listen, funded by Yuri Milner and possibly by Mark Zuckerberg, I'm not sure, but they threw $100 million at buying telescope time specifically to look at these candidates. They stuck with the word candidates that had come from the EU Italian mathematician. BLC1, Breakthrough Listen Candidate 1, is one of the nearest stars to us. It was very easy to observe, and when they did, they found a signal. That's of no surprise because it backs up what the mathematician had found as statistically important from the Seti at Home data. So Breakthrough Listen by radio telescope time at Parkes, a tracking single dish in Australia, because the BLC1 candidate is in the Southern Hemisphere. And they confirm that there is a possible signature, but it is in the LIZ, the low information zone. So Breakthrough Listen published a paper in 2020, as Sabine correctly mentions, and says that we can't confirm it is an alien signature. It might just be interference. But hang on, the world turns, time goes on. That was in 2020. Since then, there is a third part of the story. Discovery, Breakthrough Listen, and today. A large science organization in the Netherlands called Astrum, funded again by EU money, have done something amazing. They've reanalyzed all the candidates in a novel way. They now have a way of multiplexing large telescopes together, potentially increasing how good they are. It's kind of complicated. Does it make them more sensitive? I'm not sure. I think it actually just opens up their window that they can see. But it's a very clever technology. But it's really complicated. Any telescope with an antenna which is distant has a time base error that needs to be combined. If you just combined all the signals by putting all the wires into a single computer, you would get noise. But if you can correct all that time base error of the observations, you can combine the signal to find something new. Sabine, that's what's happening in the EU with Horizon money today. EU-funded science is jolly good. So Sabine, thank you for covering the story, but you didn't cover the big picture. You cherry-picked what you read in the newspaper. The story is in 3 parts. The EU discovery. Part 2, breakthrough listen using a single telescope in Australia, dismissed it as possibly interference. And today, most importantly, the EU are funding a search for extraterrestrial technological signatures. And speaking to Breakthrough Listen, they confirmed that they're still interested in what they called BLC1. They haven't dismissed it. They need more data. That's the bigger picture. Because the truth is out there.